Breakthrough Real Estate Investing Podcast, episode 113.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. Sandy, good to see you again.
Hey, Rob, how's everything going today?
It's going good. It's going good. How about you?
Fantastic.
You getting any sunlight? You going outside, going for walks, that kind of stuff?
Actually, yeah, I'm at the office right now. Getting out a bit.
Yeah, that's good. Me too.
We don't have any other people around here, really, so just like a couple of us here. Pretty much every day, actually, the last week or so.
It's fairly quiet.
Yeah.
Yep, still hustling, but doing it remotely, I guess.
Yeah, things have changed, but it's still good. I think we can still make some stuff happen, right? There's opportunities in this. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Everyone listening should go to iTunes and rate and review the show. There you can look at all of our past episodes and leave a comment. Let us know what you'd like to hear. Ideas for guests, whatever it may be, just let us know.
Absolutely. And our website, breakthroughreapodcast.ca. You can pick up our free report there. The ultimate strategy for building wealth through real estate. Also get on our email list so you never miss a beat on what's going on with our show, with different events we got going on, street property tours, all that sort of great stuff. Rob, are you still doing the street tours? Are you doing them virtual?
I did a virtual one last weekend. I got some good comments on it. Didn't get any action from it, but it was nice to sort of get it out there. I'm going to do a couple of variations on it. I might try doing a live Zoom or something like this on Facebook, and then I'll just integrate the videos into it somehow. But yeah, we're going to change things up a little bit. And, like just yesterday, I got my permits for a new project. So things are still happening. It took a heck of a long time. We didn't put our work on hold, but we're basically ready for our inspection now. You know what I mean?
We did. Yeah, we got that. I heard with our construction team, they're not necessarily our projects. We got some permits in place yesterday that like they're starting to issue them again. Yeah. Not necessarily that you can work yet, but you're getting your permits. So once they change, it's like, just go.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I always do it so that, look, I put in my application, right? Like, I'm not trying to hide anything. I put in my application and now the work can't go on hold. We can't sit there with an empty house for 2 months waiting. So we're usually in there, like, so the plumbing inspection already happened this morning and it passed, right? Like we were ready and now I just got to get the building inspector in there for a first inspection. So, we worked right up to the point where we couldn't do anything else until the inspections happened, but that's kind of the way I do it anyway. This time it did take a little bit longer for sure. So
yeah, it's been a bit slower, definitely slower down with us too, but then when we're able to do stuff, it's just slow.
Yeah.
Slow moving.
Absolutely.
So there's some tweaks we're making here and there. It's fun. Some new things to maneuver around.
And we're doing a live Facebook feed right now too. This is our first one.
I know.
That's kind of interesting. Is anybody watching it right now?
I just got it up. I got it up to test it because we kind of did this off the cuff, just out of nowhere, and I see 2 people watching. One of them might be me, but we got some action there at least. So if anyone's listening, jump on our Facebook group. If you're driving, I guess just pull over and do that. But Breakthrough Real Estate Investing. You can search that on Facebook and go jump on, give the page a like, and start watching some of these episodes. So if you're not driving around or you're not in the gym like you normally would be, where you might want to listen to this, you can jump on your phone or your computer at home and still join in and get all the fun action here.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay. So, and we have an amazing guest to talk to today. Very excited about it. Hopefully I get the name right.
I wanted to see you say the name. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. Andriy. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, I've been called worst, so it's not bad. Andriy, I go by Andriy.
Oh, it's just Andriy. Okay, well, pretty straightforward.
I say the last name, Rob. Go give.
Makoviychuk.
Oh, that's very good. That's very good. Yeah, that's dead on actually.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Okay. See, right on. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, thanks, Andriy. So I'll do a quick bio and then we can get into some questions and hear all about your story. Andriy moved here to Canada, the Greater Toronto area in 2001 from the Ukraine. His first job was delivering newspapers for about $100 a month at 10 years old. And in college, he had a light bulb moment after seeing some of his friends' a housing arrangement, and he started comparing it to the prices of homes in Barrie. And then he knew he needed to buy an investment property. So by 19, he became an investor for the first time with his parents. Sold the house 6 years later, doubling their money. Obviously had a bit of a light bulb there as well and said, we've got to keep doing more of this. And in search of highest cash flow producing properties, he realized that there was an incredible deal south of the border. So started and now still buying most of his properties in Western New York State. So we're going to get a lot more info on that as we go through the show. I think a pretty interesting topic there about buying properties south of the border in the U.S., specifically New York. So not too far south of the border, but still driving distance, I guess, right?
Yeah, very much driving distance.
So I think we'll touch on that a lot more throughout the show. But why don't you start off just telling us a little more about how you got into this world of real estate investing and why you chose it?
Sure. So you did a good job on the bio. So basically the light bulb moment was in Barrie. I used to go to college there for a completely different, irrelevant field. But the good thing that came out of college, besides meeting my wife, was I went to a buddy's house of mine, and he was living there. He was paying about $500 a month in rent. And this is 2012, right? So Barrie home prices are still low today, but at that time they were extremely low. We're talking on the average of 250 to 300 range of home prices. And these landlords are putting 6, 7, 8 bedrooms sometimes in these homes. So I saw his living condition, and it was just a complete mess. I mean, a typical student rental. But regardless, people are paying, and he's collecting money. So I'm thinking, you know what, we're definitely doing something wrong here. Working, because where is this working going to get us doing 9 to 5? So we ended up buying our first house. I hired a realtor at the time. I didn't know anything. I didn't know what was a good deal, what was a bad deal. And sure enough, he sold us a home that having known what I know now, I probably wouldn't have bought back in the day. But at that time, we didn't really care. We just wanted to buy something. So we bought a home that was 3 bedroom, 1 washroom. I don't think it was even 1,000 square feet. I think it was 990 square feet. I mean, we could have got so much better, but he recommended to buy a little bit further from the college so we don't deal with students. And I think as a new landlord, that was probably the right move to do, because I don't think we would handle it with student rentals all in the beginning. We sat on this property for a long time. At the time, my mentality was, oh my God, I'm going to pay off this property in 25 years. I'm going to be rich in 25 years. Then years go by, and I'm still in college, still working. And I guess everyone has realized, I don't want to wait 25 years to see the fruits of my labor. I kind of want to see what I can do with this now. So we decided to sell the property. And from there, I bought personally my condo where I lived for the time, and we bought a property in Welland. The reason I chose Welland was because, again, I had a moment where I said, is there more to investing than just equity investing? I understand equity is the name of the game for most parts. But when you're working a 9 to 5 and cash flow is a problem, then you're not really focused on equity, because equity you can't tap in right away. So at least for me. So I decided to buy in Welland with my wife, and we bought a duplex for about $200,000. The thing rented for $1,720, so we still own it to this day. We're cash flowing about $600 a month, which was great. Then diving deeper into this cash flow game, that's when I kind of started to look at Western New York area. Because, if there was any other investment that I could see, if I could buy a tractor and rent it out, I probably would, if it was easier than real estate. But I don't think that there is anything easier than real estate. Something's been done so many times over and over and over again. We're not reinventing the wheel. We're just doing what other people have done already.
Interesting. Okay. So now let's jump into what your favorite strategy is now. And I know you mentioned where it is, but let's talk about what it is, I guess.
Okay. So favorite strategy, and as of now, I think where I am in my life, and I'm sure it's going to change. Actually, I'm positive it's going to change in the future. But as of now, is buying something on an owner finance deal with roughly 20 to 30% down and paying it off over 5 years, only because I've been managed to get in these kind of deals. So I'll break that down. In Western New York, and this is close to Buffalo. Western New York is considered Buffalo, Niagara Falls, Jamestown, close to the Erie, Pennsylvania border. In Western New York, a duplex that's renovated, you can find for not under 45,000, you can say. And this duplex will probably rent for $1,200 a month. So now let's break that down. If I was to buy the same thing here, how much money would I have to deploy to generate $1,200 a month in rental income? Probably a lot more than 45,000. So favorite strategy is there, because even at a 5-year payoff, at probably 6% interest, mind you, we're still cash flowing in the meantime. So the cash flow in the meantime is about, I don't know, $300-400 per home, and you're paying it off in 5 years. But the guarantee is that 5 years from now, that home will not be worth a penny more than what you paid 5 years ago. I'm okay with. I can sleep with that number, because in 5 years I pay off the home. So my investment of $8,000 into this $45,000 home is now turned 5 times in 5 years. So I understand it's a very low numbers when you're talking about a home, but when you're talking about 6, 7, 8, 10, 12 homes, then it starts becoming exciting.
I'm excited about the first one even. So now one of the things that I've always been a little bit unclear on is how you're taxed on that income.
Okay, so we're taxed in the States. There's something called a flow-through entity, and up until a few years ago, you could have an LLC, I believe, that was a flow-through entity to Canada, which means this: in New York or in the States in general, more likely than not, you're going to be paying less income tax percentage than you are in Canada. So, for example, if I pay 20% income tax in the States when I file, in Canada, that income, on that same income, I don't have to pay 35 to 40%. So in Canada, I pay the difference when I take it to my accountant. I take that return from the IRS and I bring it to my accountant here, and I say, charge me on the difference. Now we can't do that anymore, because an LLC is not a flow-through entity, meaning if I pay 20% on an LLC in the States, I have to pay the full amount in Canada. For a Canadian citizen, everybody in the States says, oh, get an LLC, asset protection, asset protection. For Canadian citizens, it's probably the worst thing you can do. So now there's a little bit different tax structures that are more, now I'm not an accountant, of course, but I mean, we meet with enough of them that they kind of guide us all in the same direction. So basically what we do now is it's called an LP. And an LP, you have a limited partnership. Between there is 99% owner myself, and 1% owner is the LLC. So, okay, fine. On the 1%, I pay double taxes of ownership, which turns out to be nothing. And on the 99% is the flow-through part, which is the bulk of my taxes, which then I can do the difference instead of paying double in taxation. And I think this tax question, to be honest with you, was a reason why I never started in the first place. I was looking in the States from probably 2016, 2017. So about 2-3 years, driving down constantly and never being able to pull the trigger. And the more you read online, the more scary it gets, I feel sometimes, because everybody's bringing up their own problems of what they dealt with. And don't do this because of this, and don't do this because of this. And then, eventually you just say, enough is enough. Let's just do something and see how it's going to work for me. Because everybody's got their own kind of problems that more so are not going to relate to you. Maybe they're managing it differently. Maybe they don't have the right people in place. I don't know. That was I was stuck in analysis paralysis for a long time, and then I finally decided, you know what? Let's just try it. So I tried it with one home in 2019, and in that I kind of held on for a year before I decided to do anything else, and then we expanded further.
Interesting. So you're saying the difference is about roughly 15%.
Roughly 15%. Yeah, but to be honest, I just did my 2019 taxes on the one home. There's no income. Because after there's so many deductions that are allowed in the States that are probably not allowed here, including mileage, for example. So mileage in the States to calculate based on where you live. So I happen to live in Canada. So if I drive down once a month, they don't look at the gas receipts. They look at the amount of miles you put in and then do their own calculation based on that. So there's so many expenses that at the end of it, you're making money, but you're not showing any profits.
Right. Okay. Well, that sounds good.
Great.
So what are some of the other challenges that you face when you're starting out in the States?
I think that the difference between US and Canada is the people. So the people I'm dealing with is, of course, low-income people. God forbid, I'm not telling you they're bad people. They're actually amazing people. You have to treat them slightly differently than you would in Toronto. Actually, this would make sense even if you're doing downtown Miami or downtown Manhattan versus some rural areas. They're slightly different mentality, but they're not bad people. So what we have there is a lot of Section 8 tenants. Now, Section 8 Canadian means one program, but when you break it down on a county by county level, it could actually be 5-6 programs. So basically what it turns out to be is you have the government agency. So for example, Chautauqua Rent. Chautauqua County is where I buy. Chautauqua Rent will pay 70% of the rent. So if it's, I don't know, $1,000, they pay $700. And then the tenant pays the extra $300. These kind of tenants, in my opinion, are my favorite because the government always pays you on time. And the tenant, if he doesn't pay you on time, good luck trying to get back on that program. Those tenants always pay as well because they wait a long time, sometimes 3-4 years to even get on the program. So there's nothing they're not going to do to screw this up. So they're paying a lot, but there's a lot of paperwork involved. Of course, you're dealing with government agencies and they want to know everything and your blood type. So you have to give them the paperwork they want, which is just a lot of setup. But once it's set up, it runs like a well-oiled machine because I mean we're not chasing people for money. For the most part, I mean, even during this crisis, people are still paying. I mean, I have one problem out of 12 tenants. I have one problem tenant, which is it's okay. I mean, I'll take those odds any day of the week.
Well, that was going to be my next question, to be honest with you, and quite frankly, I mean, I'm roughly the same ratio as you here, so you know it's going to happen. There's going to be someone that has a little bit of a difficult time, obviously, in this. You know, what we're facing right now. So that doesn't sound too bad.
Now, what is Section 8 exactly? What type of people are they? Just for the listeners to explain a little more. You said there's 5-6 types. What does that mean?
Oh no, I'm just saying there's 5-6 types of programs. So for example, there's Chautauqua Rent, and then there's Chautauqua Housing Authority. Then there's another program called STEL. Well, this is all in Chautauqua County in Western New York. So this will not apply all over the states, but the concept is the same thing. So they're all the same program, except some of them even have like mental health programs. So if somebody is suffering from some sort of mental health, they go on this program, they provide like counseling and guidance for them, and they pay 70% of the rent if they qualify. I mean, I'm not going to these agencies directly, although I could, and say, listen, I got a vacancy and put somebody in there. Most of the time, people will call me and say, hey, listen, do you accept X, Y, and Z program? And 99% of the time I'll say yes, unless I have a serious issue with that program that they don't want to deal with me or whatever. Then I'll say yes, and they'll go on and we'll go from there. Some of them would pay 100%. For example, DSS, which is Department of Social Services, in Chautauqua County, 2 of my tenants are 100% paid by them. So I literally never have to, I mean, unless there's a maintenance, something, they never call me. But I do, I mean, of course I'm not going now. On a regular month, I would go down there at least once a month just to kind of check up with them. One of the differences between Canada and US is in the US, especially in cheaper areas like Memphis, like Detroit, like Cleveland, there's a lot of out-of-town landlords. And the stigma behind out-of-town landlords is they don't care because most of them don't. They buy the property, they give it to some property manager that's been managing for 20 years. The property looks like crap. They don't fix anything. And the tenants hate the person, to be honest with you. they hate out-of-town landlords in general. Most realtors hate out-of-town landlords in general because they kill their city. And I agree with them 100%. So I go every single month, not because I really have to. First of all, I want to. Sometimes I'm looking at different deals. Or I just come and say hi to the tenants. And I tell them all the time, if it's not emergency for maintenance, just call me. Most of the time, I would just bring something down for you guys, if whatever you need. But if it's an emergency, I'll send somebody because I will. I want them to know me. I want them to know my face. I want them to know me. I want them to know that I'm there and I care, because a lot of times it's easier to not to pay rent to somebody they don't know than it is to somebody they know. That's really what it comes down to. Is I find with my scenario, I mean, I've been really lucky with great tenants all across the board. Some of them, yes, they have problems, but at least those people call me in advance. They'll say, hey, Andriy, listen, for example, I have a lady that works at McDonald's. McDonald's in New York is now drive-through only. So they laid some people off. And she's one of them that got laid off. She called me 2 weeks in advance and say, listen, I'm getting laid off. I'm going to try to call unemployment, but I heard the lineups are long and whatever. So I gave her some numbers for unemployment, and I said, listen, try calling these people and these people. And now we're working on a plan. So, for example, this month I said, okay, you know what, Grace, this month it's fine. Leave it as is. Don't pay anything. Next month, pay the regular, because we're probably still going to be in this situation. The following month, you're going to pay me an extra $100 until you come back on your payments. And I'm okay with that. I have no problems with that, as long as there's a plan in place. What I don't like is when I call somebody and there's no answer. Then we're going to have a different kind of problem. But if I call somebody or they call me and we work out a plan, great. Why not?
Now, what is the landlord-tenant situation like there? Is there, when someone's delinquent on their payments, how is it to get them out?
Okay, so compared to Canada, it's basically the Wild West in the States. It's a lot more landlord friendly. So I actually dealt with this in another city. It takes about 2 months, realistically. On paper, they'll say it takes 45 days, or maybe 40 days, or maybe 35 days. Realistically, because courts are always backed up, it takes about 2 months. So you start off with a 5-day notice, then you give them a 10-day notice of pay or leave. And of course, they're not going to leave. If they're problematic, I'm talking about worst case scenario for all of this. They're not going to leave. Then you go to court, you get a judgment, and most of the time, within the judgment, it takes another 14 days for the sheriff to come and actually evict them. So it takes about 2 months, but you will get them evicted. Now, during this time is where it's a little tricky, because the governor of New York said there's no evictions for 90 days. That's until June 20th. So now, especially during this time, you're really kissing ass to a lot of tenants because you have to. I mean, there's no choice. I mean, normally I'm nice to everybody regardless, but especially during this time, you have to. You're not raising rents. You're not causing problems that shouldn't be caused. If something's dirty, or if the grass is not cut, or whatever, you're just kind of staying quiet because we don't want to deal with that. We don't want to deal with trying to evict somebody and then they say, you know what, I know my rights, and all of them do. It's not like we're hiding anything from them. It's all over the news. They all know what they can and can't do. Mm-hmm. So during this time, it's a little bit different. On a regular month, last year, maybe 6 months from now or 4 months from now, it's pretty much the Wild West. You can raise rent as much as you want in the States. Now, I'm talking New York State. New York City, like Manhattan, has its own rules. And most of the time, there's a lot of rent control in New York City, so you can't raise rents to whatever you want. But in New York State, as a whole, you can raise rents to whatever you want. So when I buy houses, I almost never care about the current rents because it doesn't matter to me. I just look at what I know I can rent it for and what the expenses are, and if there's separate meters for everything. That's what I know my numbers from. But what they're paying now, a lot of people are scared. Oh, you can only raise it $25 at a time or $50 at a time. The way I look at it is, I don't want to have a difficult conversation twice. So if I buy a house and somebody's paying $300 or $400 for a 2-bedroom, and I know I can get $600 for the same, or $650 for the same 2-bedroom, I'll make the call. I'll give them sufficient time, usually over 2 months. I don't have to. I only have to give them 30 days, but because I want to. I want them to want to live there. I don't want to force anybody in living anywhere. I will raise the rent to whatever the market value is. Not over, but whatever the market value is. And that will be right off the bat. Because if they're not okay with it, then why are we wasting time? There's no point in me raising $50 at a time to get to the point where they're not okay with it. Because they're just gonna hate me. Every single 6 months, I'm calling them to raise rent. It's not gonna make sense. Just have a difficult conversation, rip the Band-Aid off and say, listen, this is what's going on. I'm giving you 2 months, lots of time. I understand this is a financial decision. You guys decide for yourself. In 2 months or in a month, I'm really gonna need a decision because I have to know if I'm putting it up for rent or if you guys are staying and I'll give you a new lease.
That's interesting. Quite a bit different.
Yeah, there's quite a few differences there. A lot of positives actually.
A lot of positives. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna ask the price points of the houses. You mentioned a couple of prices, 50,000-ish, something like that. I mean, obviously that's pretty attractive to people. What are the prices there, and how did you end up in the areas that you're in? Did you explore other areas first?
I did. First, I was looking in, which I should have bought, mind you. If I bought 3 years ago, I mean, I don't want to play this if this game, but 3 years ago in Buffalo, I think I would have probably doubled my money already in Buffalo because Buffalo prices for some reason exploded, even for crappier homes. So the thing with you guys have to, most listeners have to realize in Niagara Falls, New York, Buffalo, New York, and most of Western New York, homes are probably going to be close to 100 years old. Maybe 70, 80, but close to 100 years old. That doesn't mean they're cheap. So in Buffalo, a 100-year-old home could be a duplex, could be 150,000, 170,000, and you're probably renting it for $1,600 a month, 800 each side. In Jamestown, my first property was 42,000. That one I put 8,400 down, and the owner gave me a 5-year mortgage at 6% interest, fully amortized, meaning I pay off the property in 5 years, no balloon payment. The payments are roughly $650 a month.
Are we talking American dollars or Canadian?
All American dollars. All American dollars. So even for myself, the only time I calculate the conversion is when I first transfer the money for the down payment. Other than that, all my numbers, all the profit or loss, I calculate in US dollars because I mean we're working with US dollars, so there's no point of trying to bring Canadian into this. The first property was 42,000. Then I looked at a building. It was 21 units in the same city in Jamestown, New York. They wanted 299,000 for a 21-unit building. We almost pulled the trigger, but in respect, 21 units, 299,000. all in downtown of Jamestown, which is very good. We almost pulled the trigger, but they're all 1 bedrooms except for 1 unit. That was one problem I had with it. The second problem I had was they didn't have separate utilities. So the mortgage payment happened to be the least expensive expense out of the whole picture. You're paying about $1,200 to $1,300 a month for electricity. Same thing goes for gas, and about $500 or $600 a month for taxes. It didn't make sense. I think I could have got maybe 9, at most I could have squeezed out 9,000 out of that building, maybe 10,000 out of that building, and I'm making about $1,700 cash flow. So it didn't make sense for me to put all this money and take all this risk, and you have to fix up some units for such little money. That agent, God bless him. So he said, listen, I have 5 other properties owned by one guy. He's willing to sell them on an owner finance. I said, okay, let's go look at them. The total price of 5 properties, I think he wanted about $220,000. We ended up getting it for 177, something like that. 177,000 for 5 properties, and this was 12 units. All of them, 3 duplexes, 1 single family, and 1 triplex. Also 20% down, 5-year payoff, and so now I'm at 12 units. So that has been working out for me perfectly. That's kind of the price. So imagine divided 177 by 5. I mean, the prices are not comparable. The prices are almost laughable because when you look. When I look here at a cash flow and deal at 200,000, you say, okay, this is a great cash flow. This is a great cash flow. When you look over there, it's kind of like it's completely different. I bring some buddies down, actually. I bring some buddies from my old workplace to the States. I brought one of them down the first time around, kind of looking. Second time, he buys one house. Third time, he buys another house. Fourth, so now he has 3 properties in a matter of a month. All cash. He said, why didn't you bring me here a year sooner? He said, you have to look. Because people are not bad. They're good people. And you will get paid. I mean, they have horror stories of tenants. Sure they do. I don't blame the tenant. I blame the landlord that put him there. I mean, there's signs. There's always signs of something like that. I mean, why did you put him there in the first place? Sometimes you get it wrong. And that's where the 1 in 12 kind of ratio comes in. But if all your tenants are not paying, that's a you problem. That's not a tenant problem, in my opinion.
So how do you go about? I'm assuming you have a bit of a team set up there in the area you're focused on. I'm assuming a realtor, or property management, maybe, or maintenance. How do you go about building up a group like that, and how did that look for you?
Yeah. So the realtor has his wife manages a rental portfolio. I think they have about 300 or 400 units they manage, not in Jamestown, but kind of all over. The one I'm dealing with now, the realtor is also a young guy. He's just a superstar. I mean, he does about 50% of all the county's listings, and it's him and his wife only. So he does over 200 transactions a year, just him and his wife. He's a superstar. So he knows a lot of deals that are ready to come out. As for maintenance,
you're going there for the listeners, if you want to, do you want to shout out who that is, or do you?
Yes,
they can reach out to you, maybe.
Taylor Bennett from Keller Williams over there. He's a superstar, absolute superstar. I mean, there's no better agent than him, I feel. Let me talk about this for a second, actually, because I think agents are very important in those cheaper areas. What you're going to find is that the cheaper the houses, the worse the agents are. At least what I found. So you have people that I call, never call back. You ask certain questions, they don't know the answer. I don't know where they're getting these listings from. Or how they're, like, I don't know if somebody's just giving them these listings, but it seems like they're not engaged in the job. To put it in perspective, I wouldn't be engaged, I think, either. I mean, if you're charging 3% on a 40,000, you're not making a hell of a lot of money. That's why you have to do this serious volume, 200-300 homes to make a living in there. So in a way, I kind of don't blame them, but then it's kind of like, why did you pick this profession to begin with? But a lot of them are no good. So when you find a good one, don't let them go because there's nothing else out there. So let's go back to maintenance. I found it also through maintenance. I found through the first house I bought. He kind of recommended the realtor at the time. He was an ex-FBI agent for many years. He's straight can be. He recommended me a guy. It was an older gentleman. I think he's retired. He's like 70 years old, and he kind of just goes around and does stuff for me if I need to be done. He's been great for me. I mean, there's nothing that I asked him to do that he didn't do. I mean, I'm not going to ask him to go on the roof given his age, but if anything small breaks down, he's always there and available. So that's kind of my team. And the realtor kind of helps me with the management aspect, the lease out units or anything like that. But there really is no management. I mean, maybe when you start getting to 40, 50 units, that'll be different. But at 12 units, I mean, maybe I make 2 or 3 phone calls a month to remind people, hey, this is the first, go to the bank and pay your money. Otherwise, there's not really much to do.
And it sounds to me like it's pretty important to you, obviously, to find these owner finance deals. How many of these are there? It seems like there's an abundance of them to choose from, and you've just found the right ones.
Actually, no, there's really not a lot. So if somebody's advertising that they accept owner finance, I would say 99% of the time it's because the property has something significantly wrong with it. I mean, it's probably a full rehab and by the way, I don't buy full rehabs because I just buy something that's already rented. I raise the rent slightly or to market, and that's it. If somebody's advertising owner finance, maybe, now let me back up, maybe in 2 months, when the state sees a different kind of market, there'll be good homes on owner finance. But most of the time, it's not good homes on owner finance. Why I look for owner finance to begin with? We're Canadian citizens. But to work with a bank is not exactly friendly. Now, when I first started this, I called about, I don't know, close to 100 banks in that area. And I kind of asked, hey, listen, Canadian citizen, buying for investment, can you work with me? Oh, Next question. Canadian citizen, Bedford, can you work with me? No. So you find people after calling so many different banks. So I did find a bank. It's called, if you don't mind, I'll say Lakeshore Savings. They're willing to work with investors. The way it works in the States is the more mortgage you're asking for, the more likely you're going to get it. If you're asking for a mortgage on a $30,000 property or $40,000 property, they're going to tell you to get lost. If you're asking for $500,000 mortgage or $1 million mortgage, then you're more likely to get it. It doesn't matter if you're from Canada or Uzbekistan. It doesn't matter. You're going to get it most likely no matter what. Because they're looking at the asset itself. That's the most important thing. They do a lot of asset lending. If you're asking for example, I spoke to a guy of First National in Erie, Pennsylvania. And they kind of do lending countrywide all over the place. For him, a minimum criteria was a $500,000 mortgage. He said, once you cross the threshold of $2 million in mortgages with us, you basically name your terms, name your rate. I mean, as far as you can, you name everything at that point. But when you're dealing with a lot smaller properties in the beginning, it's the hardest. So you have to go kind of find these owner finance or something like that. I mean, of course, you can buy cash, but then your cash is obviously going to run out one day. So you kind of want to leverage as much as you possibly can. That's the problem we've been dealing with. Not really a problem, but it's cheaper to go the owner finance route. Even though I could go to Lakeshore Savings and maybe put 25% down, 25% down comes with appraisals and comes with application fees and it comes with other fees that the bank puts on. So now you're looking at 5 different properties, 5 appraisals, 5 applications. So it becomes like maybe an extra 10, 12,000 in fees that are just needless if you just go the other route.
So have you been to buy these properties? Are you going and seeing them first, or is it through the realtor? Or is he finding these owner financing options, or how does that look usually?
Yeah, so he finds owner financing options. I call around all the time as well. I mean, I call agents in other states as well. Kind of put out my name out there and say, listen, this is what I'm doing, this is what I've been doing, and you know, kind of let me know if anything goes. But he's the one that, so far in Jamestown, he's the one that calls me and says, hey, listen, I have this. Actually, there's one more that I'm hoping to secure very shortly. It's about a 7-unit for $110,000. And it's outstanding shape. Everything's outstanding. The roof's good. The siding's amazing. Everything's solid. And it's all 2 bedrooms. And the 2 bedrooms, the best thing is they're massive. So the living room is about, I think it's about 20 feet long. So you could easily do it another bedroom there, 3 bedroom. Now you're increasing rents. Anyway, most of them, he's calling me. To answer your question, do I go there? Absolutely. Will I continue going there? Maybe that will change in the future. But for now, it's not a far drive. And I'm not that confident in somebody else's word in the beginning. So I absolutely, I do go there. And I mean, it doesn't take long. It's a 3-hour drive or 2.5 if the border is okay. And I go and I take a look and I meet the people and that's kind of all part of the decision-making process.
Sorry, so where do you see your business in the next 5 years?
Where do we see in 5 years? So I think with this coronavirus, obviously it's a very sad situation. But I think it brings opportunities in different states that are going to be hardest impacted by it. So when I look at different states, I think it's going to be Southern Florida and all the sand states, meaning Nevada, Arizona, and Southern California, kind of. Southern California is very expensive. Nevada, like, there's nobody in Vegas right now. All casinos are closed, all hotels are closed. I think they're going to see a different market in the near future. So where do I see it 5 years from now? I'm hoping that if something happens significant in Southern Florida, I will personally take a break from Jamestown, take advantage of that, because I don't think 5 years from now we're going to have this kind of opportunity. I mean, I could be wrong, but I think that when something is so obvious, for example, in 2008, 2009, a lot of people were made millionaires out of Southern Florida because they were buying homes for 60, 70, 80,000 that are now worth 300,000, 400,000. So if I see something like that, for sure, I'll be going there. If not, 5 years from now is most likely I'll continue buying homes in Jamestown until I reach a certain level of comfort of cash flow that I can go kind of gamble, if you will, on equity plays elsewhere. For now, I don't see myself doing that in this immediate moment. I don't see myself. So I will continue buying for cash flow only, even if though it's not going to go up in value. That's fine. That's fine by me. But for now, it's cash flow, cash flow, cash flow up until I can feel comfortable to cross over into appreciating assets.
I like that though. You're rolling with the punches.
Yeah.
Got a contingency plan.
Yeah.
What's the biggest tip that you can give to anyone listening right now who's just starting out, say?
I think the biggest tip is I'm an agent here in Canada, and as agents here in Canada, we always tell people buy this, it'll be a good investment. Buy this, I'm going to invest in. I think you should just do your own homework and expand your horizon. Just look elsewhere. It doesn't hurt. You don't have to do anything. You have to know the difference between a Canadian investment and a U.S. investment, or investment in Mexico, or investment in England, or investment somewhere else. Just do the research and look. And then when you've done your research sufficiently, don't overthink it and just jump in and do it. Because if other people have been doing it, they're making money, unless you're doing something significantly wrong, or you're approaching it from the wrong way, you're going to make money. I mean, it's very hard not to make money when you're paying $40,000, you rent it for $1,200. If you're not making money, then something's definitely wrong with you. You have to be making money in those kind of markets. So I think where people get killed is the maintenance. Me personally, I don't buy crap, and I buy something that can at least last 5 years. Because if it can last 5 years, in 5 years I'll figure it out. If the roof goes or whatever happens in 5 years, I'll figure it out, because then there will be a surplus of cash. But in the meantime, if you're looking at something, just do it. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? If the properties go down in value, great, you hold it on longer. If you were planning to sell in a year, then plan to sell in 3 years. But sitting on the sidelines, watching your cash disintegrate because of inflation, that's not an option either.
Well, I like that idea, is do the research. So let's say you pick 3 markets that you might be interested in, and then you sort of analyze the markets, and then you go, which one is best out of that? And you pick one. And so let's say it's Jamestown. And now you look at three, let's even just dumb it down. You look at 3 deals and go, which one out of these is the best? And then, you've done your analysis, you've seen which one of those is the best. So just jump on it. Yeah, of course there might be another better one there if you wait 3 months or 3 years, or if you dug a little deeper, but there is nothing that substitutes action now.
Well, you can buy that one too.
Yeah.
Right. And I think a lot of times people don't calculate the opportunity cost that's lost when you just sit on the sidelines. I mean, that I think about all the time in my experience. If I don't buy this, that's fine. Maybe a better one will come, but what if a better one comes a year later? So now a year later, what could I have made from this deal if I buy it now? I mean, they don't come often. I'm telling you, they don't come often from there, but it doesn't take a lot of money to put down. So for people that say that, I have no money. Okay, that's fine. You have a hammer and you have nails. So there's a lot of properties out there that are saying $2,000 down, literally $2,000 down, and they give you the property over 10 years, over 20 years, over whatever. So if you don't have money, that's fine. Go out there and build equity yourself. Put in some sweat equity. You don't need a lot of money. $2,000 you can pull from any credit card. I don't care how bad your credit is. You can go get a Discovery card and get $2,000 on it. So I don't think money is ever the excuse. I think it's just opening your mind to where you're getting their money from. Don't look at all debt, in my opinion, as bad debt. I mean, if you have a line of credit at 8 or 9%, you will make money in Jamestown because the returns are about 35 to 40% on cash on cash return. I mean, you could technically borrow money at 30% from a credit card and still make money.
Good points.
That's pretty funny. That's pretty cool. What type of person, kind of maybe one of our last ones here, what type of person should be, how do you determine who should buy in Canada versus US? Like, what is the strategy? Being Canadians, how do you make that leap, and how do you, like, who should be actually looking seriously at US? What type of person, what type of situation would they be in?
I think anyone who's looking for highly cash flow deals should be looking in the US. If you're looking for an appreciating market, you can look in the US, just not in these areas. I mean, there's a lot of appreciating markets, for example, California, for example, Florida, Phoenix, Atlanta, Georgia, a lot of appreciating markets. that rise with the tide, and the first ones to drop when the tide drops. Those are the kind of markets that I'm talking about. What type of person? I was thinking about this a lot because I always try to, well, when I find something that works, like this is working for me, I kind of want to tell everybody about it because I don't want to hold anything back. I just get so excited about it. I want to tell everybody. And then you start seeing the mixed faces of the responses of people when you're telling them. Some people are looking at you like you're crazy, and some people are generally excited and want to do it. I think I have to train myself to realize that not everybody thinks the way I think when it comes to certain things. So what type of person, the type of person that doesn't complain, I think, because for me, most of it is not a problem. If a tenant complains saying, hey, listen, this guy's bothering me, lives upstairs or whatever, that's not a problem. That's a 5-minute conversation. But for some people, that's the end of the world. Or if a roof leaks and I have to send somebody to fix it, that's not a problem because it's not like I'm going out there to fix a roof. So I just send somebody, okay, here's $100, and that's not a problem for me. For some people, they say, oh, if this happened, what else is going to happen? They try to make the worst case scenarios out of everything. But for those people, I think you should stick to Canada where you can drive by more frequently and check. But for people that kind of go with the flow and take the problems on as they come, I think you owe it to yourself and your family to look at somewhere else. You don't have to pull the trigger. You owe it to understand what the market is because there's no excuse on buying. Anybody can buy. There's a lot of people that buy with owner finance or with bank finances. So RBC will do a loan for you. But the terms are ridiculous. But if you're buying one property as a vacation or whatever, maybe it'll work. They're asking 35% down on a principal or 50% down on an investment from RBC, and they will finance U.S. properties. So you can kind of go that route.
You know what? I think that is a really good point, and I think that you can almost generalize that to all investors. Is that the key to being a good investor in general is the ability to overcome obstacles. If you have no ability to overcome obstacles, just don't even bother. Don't bother being an investor at all.
Yeah, because you're going to hate it. For sure, you're going to hate it. And then you're going to blame probably the person that told you to buy it in the first place, because that's the first person. And so I tell everybody, like I said, I tell everybody because I'm excited about it. But I stopped kind of, persuading people to do, because really it's none of my business what they buy or don't buy. It's not like I'm getting anything out of it by telling them to buy in the States. As a matter of fact, I'm probably losing money as their agent here in Canada. But I get excited and I tell people that's kind of what I do. But at the end of the day, if they want to do it, great. I'll help them whatever way I can to set up bank accounts in the States, set up everything. But if they don't want to do it, I mean, I'm not going to convince anybody.
All right. Well, thanks for sharing all this. I think it's been great. I've enjoyed this a lot, and quite frankly, opened my mind up quite a bit. So thanks for sharing everything. No problem. How can people get in touch with you?
I guess we can put it in the show notes. I'll put my email there. If that's okay with you guys?
Sure, absolutely.
Email me. You can call me, text me. I mean, I'm always willing to talk to anybody that wants to get more information about anything, or just kind of bounce ideas back and forth. If they're already doing it, then I'd love to bounce back ideas. Actually, I met an agent in my office that used to run an investment corp buying New York real estate. We kind of just bounce ideas back and forth, and yeah, I'm willing to talk to anybody.
Awesome. Okay, go ahead and throw it out there real quick for anyone who just wants to write it down.
Sure. Number is 647-405-9356. 647-405-9356. My email is Andriy, so ANDRIY .MAK555@gmail.com.
Perfect. Okay. Awesome. If someone wants to reach out to you, Sandy, what would they do?
289-389-6846 or sandy@McKayRealtyNetwork.com.
And anyone wants to talk to me can reach me at rob@mrbreakthrough.ca. Thanks for sharing all this. This is going to be an exciting episode. I'm sure lots of people are going to be interested in this. And I think that even if they're not interested in U.S. investing, there's a lot of tips and a lot of information that you've shared that will be relevant to anybody starting out. So that's great. Thanks for coming on.
I'm very happy you guys had me on. Thank
Absolutely.
You guys.
Thanks. And by the way, before we sign off, Rob, too, Facebook, we're on Facebook today, first time ever. If anyone's watching this on Facebook, rewatching it, because it'll be out there to rewatch. Drop a comment in the comments there, ask a question. we can reach out to Andriy maybe ourselves if you don't want to yourself, or he'll comment on there and jump in and make a conversation out of it.
Great. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. We'll see you all next time.
Thank you guys. See ya.
Thanks. See ya.